I joined the original Actors Centre a few decades ago when I came out of drama school, and I found it very difficult to convert my auditions into jobs. And someone told me about the Actors Centre, which was at that point off Goodge Street, above the Reject China shop, which was perfect for actors, because we all know about rejection. So I started going there, and as soon as I started going there was a rather wonderful teacher called Nina Fimbra, who everyone's heard me talk about. She became a kind of mentor, because as soon as I started doing her sight reading classes, I started to convert my auditions into jobs.
So I first encountered the Actors Centre when it had moved to Tower Street, and I'd done a drama school training, and then arrived at that point where I went, I need to do more ongoing development training. Found a course, the first course I did was in Meisner technique, which was kind of life-changing, because as an actor I found it incredibly helpful, and then I ended up teaching it. So I then also taught at the Actors Centre for about 15 years. For me it was kind of a hugely important space to meet other actors. So in an isolating and kind of lonely profession, to be able to kind of meet with fellow actors and directors and writers, and to sort of cross-pollinate and find ways to collaborate was really important. So if you think about us all in lockdown, so what's already isolating then became even more increasingly isolating. And I taught for a long time, and I know that my students were we did a lot of stuff online, but there was a real thirst to get back in the space, to be with other human beings, to be able to be in a room with someone. And what we all perceived as being the optimum time to reopen an Actors Centre, where people were desperate to get back to doing the work, to have a community, it stopped. But I think generally people really want to be in a space together, and they want somewhere that they can not just go in, different spaces, but a home, an actual space that they can go regularly to, start meeting people there, making friendships there. And there's something about, I also think we're in a culture of self-tapes, which is where actors now don't even get into a room with people very often. They don't meet casting directors, they don't meet directors, they don't meet fellow actors. So people want to meet each other.
The Actors Centre was set up to serve its members. Yeah. And that idea of servant leadership, of a charity, because it was a charity, that raises money specifically to underwrite and make affordable the classes. The members pay a membership fee, but then the classes are remarkably, not cheap, but affordable. Yes. Unless senior management are proven to subscribe to these principles and to put their own ambitions aside if they clash with the meaning of the organisation, unless they can sign up to that, they can't be promoted to run such an organisation.
But it's a different business model, because we don't have a building anymore. Mm-hmm. We're here renting a space for our classes, but working in tandem with the Marylebone Theatre Management, who are delighted to have more actors in the building and more creativity. But at the moment, we don't have to think about the building. So it is a different business model. We're programming classes.
And I guess that will help protect you.
I'm hoping so.
Model.
Yeah.
I think some of these things start to go wrong sometimes when big finances start to get involved.
Absolutely right. And we haven't mentioned, but I think we should for the listeners, that building was sold off by these people because they ran up such debts. Mm-hmm. So the building now would cost $300,000.
The lease on the building.
The lease on the building would now cost £300,000 a year.
For us
whereas
to rent.
Before it was one peppercorn. So, yeah, I mean, of course you're right that when there are big assets like that, people see pound signs and get carried away. It's really been quite a hard learning curve.
It's been quite heartbreaking at times to witness. That's why this is such a great new moment for us.
Yeah, and I think, again, sometimes I'll go back to that energy thing, that sometimes things have to break down for them to start anew.
Yeah.
And to give you that passion to rebuild this community.
I think it's about the enthusiasm of the people that are signing up, and the desire of the community, the acting community and greater artistic community, to have this home and to witness. We had a meeting back in May when we decided that it was going to be unviable to go back into Tower Street because of this huge annual rent. But we thought, we can't just plough ahead, we've got to get a feeling of, do people want this? And the answer was kind of a resounding yes. And that's where we met Alexander, the artistic director of the Marylebone, at that meeting. And what's been so encouraging is, in the set, like Louise was saying, in 1978 there was a queue around the block. Well, at our opening, people want this. And I think, you get the feeling that there is this sense of renewed energy and a feeling of how do we now make this the Actor Centre of 2026 as opposed to 1978. And as Louisa said, you have to start really exploring what today's actors want, and also honour tried and tested crafts and the things, working not just in self-taping, but really offering a wide range. For me personally as well, I think at a time when it's so isolating, and as we've talked about the self-tape culture, etc., it's how do you give actors a sense of their own agency? How do you give them a sense that their creativity matters? How do you give them a sense that they are in a space where they can be heard, where they can be seen, where they can meet friends, colleagues, and not have this feeling that they're kind of sidelined and irrelevant?
It's about, right, this is my creativity, what can I do to put it out there? And that's what I'd like to nurture here.
And I think it's been positive also to have an opportunity to look at the timetable and modernise it, because when I first got involved and we were putting together the timetable for this pilot, there were classes in things like sight reading, which is fantastic, but kind of you very, very rarely actually get asked to sight read at an audition nowadays. So it's a skill that might have been very useful in 1978, but is potentially used a lot less today. So whereas I think nowadays the industry has moved on so much, as you say, there is no rep system, and increasingly I think people have to kind of produce their own work, produce their own shows, take things up to Edinburgh, produce their own films. So I think it's been great to have that chance to look at the timetable and really bring in new classes which focus on these new skills that actors need.
This is happening a lot on the podcast at the moment, that people are talking a lot about the importance of the future of the next generation coming up right now, and that we look after and we care for them.
That's the most important thing for me, is this thing with young people. I'm still in touch with people who came to classes I did 20 years ago, who have gone on to direct, to write, to become artists.
There was also a really magical moment when we did our first fundraiser. I don't know if you know, we did that Sunday, the 1st of February. It was poetry, a passion for poetry, which Dame Harriet Walter did for us. But there was a moment, I was just watching the 3 actors on stage who had submitted their CVs and were chosen, working with Harriet, and it was magical seeing them grow. I mean, I just thought this has made it all worthwhile to me, just seeing these. And it was very traditional. It's poetry, and you've got a tutor and a wonderful person who's obviously very experienced, and she's bringing something out of them. And it was rather magical for me. It was like seeing the Actor Centre come back.
But my gosh, it was inspiring to have 3...
very different.
Very, very courageous, very engaged, and Dame Harriet is just wonderful at kind of levelling the hierarchy. There's no nonsense. She's just working with people, fellow artists, and in a way, all right, it may sound a little bit idealistic, but that's what I hope we are modelling for the members and for the industry. That you don't need to. You can hang your reputation in at the door as you come in and just be among your fellows, just be a member, be in a class, run a class, but don't worry about the status. We get enough of that out there.
This is a space for personal development rather than a certificate.
Yeah, absolutely. Ongoing, we used to talk
Professional
about ongoing training for professional actors, to keep that muscle. For me, it was always about keeping that muscle active, just keep doing it and you'll get better at it. Like a musician. Like a musician, like you play the piano. If you don't play the piano every day, you get ever so rusty. So it's just like keeping that muscle out there, but being able to do it with your colleagues at a very high level, with high level teaching, but also one of the things that we are going to have to work on here is to make it accessible, because this building isn't ideal for necessarily all disabilities. So it's something that we're reviewing, we're looking at. There's a wonderful lift, but it's not very wide, and you've got a reverse, and some of the stairways are a bit hairy. So that's something that's on our agenda, something we're going to look at, because we want to make it affordable and accessible. And that's quite important to all of us.
I
That's
think-
very important to all of us.
I think it's extremely important to all of us, and I think...
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I think the accessibility is kind of vital.
What does the future look like? What are your hopes and dreams? Let's say 5 years from now. What do things look like?
I hope
hope
the
we're still
building's,
here.
yeah, flourishing, loads
Basically.
of people coming in and out. I hope it's a great success, and every room is filled with people, and we've created a community. That's the word, I think, community, so people feel less isolated.
I think, you know, if everything we've said so far in terms of everything you're saying about community, high quality training, that and what we've alluded to around opportunities, so that we are a place where the future people who like we mentioned around Heart, there are loads of people that started at the Act Centre and have gone on in many different ways building careers, that this becomes a hub for people to build careers, they can start their careers here and make those connections